Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Shri Gopal Jaya Shri Gopal Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev God Premanand. Take the Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Taiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatha Jayo Mutiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So we are reading from Canto 10, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the chapter number 17, chapter entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. Text number 7. Please repeat after me. Tvam va mrinala dhavala padernyuna padacharan Risharupena kim kaschad Devo na pankhedayan Tvam va mrinala dhavala padernyuna padacharan Risharupena kim kaschad Devo na parikhedayan Tvam va mrinala dhavala padenyuna padacharan Risharupena kim kaschid Devo na parikhedayan Devo na parikhedayan Padenyuna padacharan Risharupena kim kaschid Devo na parikhedayan Tvam va mrinala dhavala Padenyeva padacharan Devo na parikhedayan. Mataji's. Okay. Padacharan Risharupena kim kaschid Devo na parikhedayan. Tvam, you, va, either, mrinala dhavala, as white as a lotus, pade, of 3 legs, nyuna, being deprived, pada, on 1 leg, charan, moving, prisha, bull, Rupena, in the form of, Kim, whether, Kaschit, someone, Deva, demigod, Na, us, Parikhedayan, causing grief. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Then he, Maharaj Parikshit, asked the bull, "Oh, who are you? Are you a bull as a white lotus, or are you a demigod? You have lost 3 of your legs and are moving on only one. Are you some demigod causing us grief in the form of a bull?" Purport: at least up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit, no one could imagine the wretched conditions of the cow and the bull. Maharaj Parikshit therefore was astonished to see such a horrible scene. He inquired whether the bull was not a demigod assuming such a wretched condition to indicate the future of the cow and the bull. Om Jnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा. जस्ट एक अनाउंसमेंट कि प्रभु जी का प्रवचन अभी अंग्रेजी में होगा, इसकी हिंदी रूपांतरण नीचे भक्ति वेदांत हॉल में हो रहा है, तो जो भक्त हिंदी में सुनना चाहते हैं वो नीचे जा सकते हैं. हरे कृष्ण.
So, today we see in this verse, basically this is a continuation of the time period is when the excuse me, the time period is when Kali Yuga is about to set in, and Parikshit Maharaj, the grandson of Arjun, is the last emperor. He is in the most ideal mood as an emperor, very pious, protecting his subjects. And here we see in this verse, this is a continuation of when he is actually seeing that how systematically the foundations of dharma are being cut and removed. And the bull, who's actually dharma, is now standing only on one leg. So here we see actually a contrast between the previous, that is what we cannot imagine, what the Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga was compared to the present Kali Yuga. For instance, if you see the questions that Parikshit Maharaj is asking, he is so concerned about an animal we understand from here what is the kind of mood of protection that Parikshit Maharaj wants to give to a bull or a cow, how much they worshipped. And in the previous purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the answer. I'll read the first line of the previous purport, yesterday's purport. In a civilization where God is conspicuously banished, and there is no devotee warrior like Arjuna, the associates of the age of Kali take advantage of this lawless kingdom and arrange to kill innocent animals like the cow in secluded slaughterhouses. Yeah, and then such murderers of animals tend to be condemned to death by the order of the pious king like Maharaj Parikshit. So, from the previous purport, we see that the mood of this yuga and the previous yuga, such a contrast is there. In the previous yuga, that is in Dwapar yuga, even there also was, we can see the shades of Kali yuga coming in. But there was, we said just now, the concern for animals. Now today if you see, forget about animals, but even we constantly read in the papers, some incident happens, some two lovers they get into a fight and one stabs the other one on the roads, and then 50 people surround it and they're taking a video, but nobody goes to help. This is routine, we see this regularly. So we see the insensitivity and the kind of apathy, where there is no compassion at all. That's we can see, any common sense, we can see how degradation has set in. And this is the, and this is, as Prabhupada said, because when we have conspicuously banished God from our lives, because unless we have stability and the laws of God, there has to be a barometer. If you are working somewhere, there are certain rules. If you are living in a society, there are certain rules. Everywhere there is rules. You cannot go without rules. They may be broad or they may be narrow, but there will always be certain conditions, certain rules that have to be followed. But here, once we take birth, and because we are under such gross ignorance that we think that unless we see God, we don't believe in God, and therefore he doesn't exist, or he may be existing somewhere, he's there in a temple, we go there, we like to see his, or on a church or in a mosque, and then we feel very nice thinking about it, but we do not connect it to living the life of his rules. And his rules are very simple. It's not even rules, it's basic thing that ultimately if you just accept that God is the controller and the benefactor and the father of everyone and everything, that's the fundamental principle, because once we take that, then everything falls into place. Then we see everything in a different light. Just like when we see a glass of water, if you see it in a dark room, you can't see anything. You go in the sunlight, you see everything. Similarly here, if we keep our eyes closed, we see darkness, we do not see anything, so we believe that that is what we want to do what we want. And it becomes very convenient for us. On the other hand, if we follow, when we see sunlight, sunlight represents removal of darkness. Nescience is removed, and that is where Krishna consciousness or God consciousness comes in. And when we start believing in that, and then we associate with those people, then we can understand the picture gradually. Then we start inquiring. Just like when we enter the first standard in a school, we know very little, but then we learn from the teachers and the others, and so gradually we step up, and then we go to the second standard, and then onwards. And then our knowledge base increases as we grow older, and we systematically, but we have to faithfully follow the school rules throughout. If we completely deviate from the school in between, we will be out of the school, in which case then we are out of that link of knowledge. But if we are following that every day, every year, and we broadly follow the school. We accept, in other words, that the school is my institution of knowledge. Then through that, gradually we will, because the teachers and the principal, they understand, they know much more, and they will reveal as our knowledge base. Just like you take any subject, for instance, they teach you about air in school. I mean, many of you have children, you will see. But they will teach in the second standard, very basic. Teach in the fifth standard also you'll have. It will be much more advanced. And similarly, so the same subject matter can have more depth. So understanding spiritual life has also depth as we grow sincerely. That means a continuity has to be established. So here in this verse we see that at least we can understand the lack of compassion that was there, and therefore the revival of God consciousness in our lives. We need not worry about the whole world and say that, well, what to do about it. The world is comprised of individuals, and the world is controlled by the Lord. He will do everything. We are seeing miracles happening every day. We see around us, if we want to see, it's incredible. I mean, we see ourselves, the body, as well as we see how things evolve. So we are seeing that God is in control. If we want to see, we can see He is in full control in everything. So many things happen in our life which we do not expect, and so many things that we want it to happen doesn't happen. But then it happens in His own time, whether favorable or unfavorable. So somebody is controlling that, we have the evidence. So if we just follow that and stick to it, then over time, gradually we will build our own, work on our own consciousness, not worry about the world, slowly build our own family, which is not necessarily the biological family. It could be, but it is also the extended family of those who are part of this understanding. And then gradually we see others also in the same light. We see our weaknesses. What happens is that we see that we are not able to follow, but when we do try to follow, and we see sometimes we make such mistakes, and but we then see other people who are in a more advanced understanding how humble they are, or how tolerant they are of situations. They don't get provoked. They are calm in the situations. They don't blame others all the time. So then we get chance to improve. It's exactly like in a school. If you associate with someone who's, I can see from my example that, after the last few years of school, I got distracted a lot. But one good thing that I see is that I had a close circle of 3 or 4 friends who are very studious, very, very studious. And we are still close enough now. Very decent people. They are the ones who, in college they were doing their ACS and CA together, that kind of thing, morning to evening study. So I was associating with them, so at least it's something rubbed off. So if you associate with people who are more in school, they're more studious, then you get encouraged, you get inspired to follow that. And you also understand, if you don't know, then you can ask them, they explain to you. So it's a matter of whom you look at. But if you choose to go with the backbenchers, and many of us may have done that, then we are going to, then we can't blame anybody else. So that's what this verse in general is about. Today I wanted to talk about Lord Shiva, a very glorious Vaishnava, because we celebrate Mahashivratri today, though it was yesterday, of course, was official holiday, but the Vaishnava calendar says it's today, so it's a very, very, very special day. And also because Lord Shiva is, even among Vaishnavas, sometimes misunderstood. His position is misunderstood. So it would be nice to just, kind of think and also discuss and see his greatness and what exactly is the situation. So in the Brahma Samhita itself, which Lord Brahma has spoken, he has spoken about exactly the position of Lord Shiva and how special it is. Because there are, sometimes you see between the followers of Shiva and the followers of Vishnu, it's almost like 2 political parties. So it's out of ignorance or out of immaturity. The Lord Shiva's followers and Vishnu followers, they're actually in 2 camps, as if literally like, not thinking that they are completely like, they have to be faithful to one, and then they'll be they can't look at the other kind of thing. So it's a very, I would say, immature and based on ignorance. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself has said that actually Mother Parvati and Lord Shiva are the masters of the material energy. Why? Because Goddess Durga, Parvati, she is the representative, or she is the controller of the material world, and Lord Shiva, being the husband of the controller of the material energy, becomes the master of the material energy. So clearly, they are themselves very, in one sense, they control the material energy. At the same time, as Lord Brahma said, that Kshiram Yatha Dati Vikara Vishesh Yogat. Kshiram means milk. Now, milk has a certain culture. Culture means milk actually can transform itself, just like we make so many products out of milk. So the example given here is that the milk, when it is Vishnu's milk, and then when we convert the milk into, say, yogurt, then that is Lord Shiva. So in one sense we can say, well, then there's no difference between Vishnu and Shiva. Yes, in one sense there is no difference, but at the same time there is a difference, because when Vishnu takes on a special purpose, a special kind of a special process, then the personification of that process of transformation into God in this situation is Lord Shiva. So he does it for a particular need, a particular purpose, and in that sense, in one sense, they are not there's no difference, but at the same time, there is a difference, because Lord Shiva is is a special tattva. Like we say, there is a Vishnu tattva is different than Jiva tattva. That we can understand that Vishnu is all those who are in they're God, and Jiva tattva means all those who are separated parts and parcels of the Lord. So even Lord Brahma is separated from the Lord. So Lord Brahma represents the highest of the Jiva tattvas. But Lord Shiva is a special category, it's called Shiva tattva. So there is Jiva tattva, there's Shiva tattva, there's Vishnu tattva. So he's not exactly Vishnu tattva, but he is also not Jiva tattva. And the scriptures say that the Jiva tattvas means we can go up to maximum 50 different qualities according to our capacities. Like Lord Brahma shows or exhibits all the 50 qualities in full. Lord Shiva exhibits 5 more. Lord Vishnu exhibits even 5 more, that is 60. And Krishna, when he comes, of course, Krishna is Vishnu, but Krishna is the original source. When Krishna comes, then he exhibits 4 more special qualities. So those are the different, the slight differences there. Yeah, so then in the Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit asks Sukdev Goswami a very interesting question. He says that why is it that Lord Vishnu is, whether he's in the spiritual world or in the material world, he exhibits so much opulence. We know how Lakshmi and Vishnu, they are in Vaikuntha, how they live. And then when Vishnu comes here, Krishna is here also in Dwarka, and there is a lot of opulence. But their followers are not very opulent. Their followers are sometimes very poor. Sometimes they're not very known for their material opulence. And while Lord Shiva is, he doesn't even have a house. I mean, he stays sometimes in the mountains, snow mountains. He sometimes stays under a tree. So he stays almost like a poverty-stricken person. But his followers seem to be very opulent. Many of them, they become rich, and following, they become. How is that possible? And Lord Vishnu is actually the husband of the goddess of fortune. So why are the followers not also in the same category. So there is then the way Shukdev Goswami explains to Maharaj Parikshit that he says that because Shiva is the master of the material energy, so of course he also controls all the everything. This goddess Durga is also under his subjugation, and the material energy is entirely under him. So he is also very easily pleased. So people generally come to him, they ask him for different material gains. So they ask him for very material gains. Most people would go and ask for some kind of material benefits, directly or indirectly. And because he's very easily pleased, he gives that. And the same question, interestingly, is asked by Yudhishthir Maharaj in just after the Ashwamedh Yagna, after the war of Kurukshetra is over, and then the Ashwamedh Yagna is performed. After he performs that, and then he asks a similar question to Lord Krishna as to why the followers of Lord Vishnu are not, why they are living in general. Many of them don't seem to be having much material opulence. And there Krishna gives another dimension to the answer, and he says that when I specially favor a devotee, then I take away things from him. That is his name of Lord Hari. And that is why a lot of devotees are scared to actually go to Krishna, because they feel that we never know, maybe he wants to take away and I'm not. So that means we are all attached, and therefore our attachments kind of stop us from going to Lord Vishnu. But then in that, we understand that Lord Krishna, when he says this directly, that means he is in control of the process. He is in control of the material energy ultimately. He is in control of that poverty also. That means the poverty is also a creation of Lord Vishnu. And also when if somebody is materially opulent, that is also coming from Lord Krishna. So Krishna is ultimately demonstrating his control, whether somebody is having any opulence or not opulence. Basically, Lord Krishna is, either case he wants to make that, he'll make arrangements. If a devotee turns towards him, he'll make an arrangement which will make him completely dependent. The person will be completely dependent on Krishna. So that is, and for what period of time? Everything is temporary. So when we go through challenges or miseries or difficulties, then everything is changing. That is not going to last forever. Similarly, if you're going through a certain period of time, certain period of contentment and steadiness, materially, externally, it may or may not remain for long. So either way, if you are following Lord Krishna sincerely as a devotee of Krishna, he wants to show that we would be dependent on him. And also there's another reason which Krishna says, that somebody who has gone through distress, then he will see when the sweetness of happiness after the bitterness tastes very sweet. We've all gone through it. Let's say we have also, if you have come to the temple, and why do we enjoy coming here? One of the key reasons also is that we feel a sense of calm, peace, happiness, contentment, at least for the time that we are here. So we all have our own set of issues when we go out of this, and then we find certain amount of, then we actually see the real world in a sense. If we hope we can see the real world, that this is the real world, but we see that contrast to the general distress, discontentment. We can see our own mood, how it is when we are caught up in our own worlds. So it's like, the contrast helps. Like for instance, if there's freezing winter, then hot water really is so pleasant. But at the same time, when there's scorching heat, very, very hot, as we will now be having, and then cool water is very refreshing. So the contrast helps. Similarly, for the devotee who's in distress, Krishna also wants to show that the spiritual happiness, if he wants that, If he or she wants that, the spiritual happiness tastes so much sweeter because we have seen and realized and gone through the other aspect of Krishna, which out of his mercy he may have shown. That is why when Krishna shows that kind of picture, or if he has put us in a difficult condition materially, that is his you can say it is his compassion, it is mercy. And Lord Shiva is known as Ashutosh because Ashu means very easily pleased, and Tosh means Santosh. He gets completely satisfied. So people go to him, and he's very compassionate. That is one of his key natures. That is, he cannot say no to anyone. Whoever comes to him, he will please him. So he's performing a certain aspect of because those who succumb to material pleasures only, and if they've got some pleasure and they want to go more and more, then they're going to get entangled. But those who have, irrespective of whether they have some material benefits, and then nobody will have forever. It is very clear. There's no possibility of anybody having continuous material happiness. So if there's a temporary happiness, but somebody is understanding that, no, I'm to see the reality of what the Lord has done, if he goes to Vishnu, then he will also see the contrast, and he will understand that both the energies come from Vishnu. Also, Srila Prabhupada commented on this Bhagavatam explanation that when those who go to Lord Shiva also, that Lord Shiva is always very eager to help anybody who comes. But from the devotee or the person who goes to, if they go to different demigods, then they will get the rewards according to what the demigods can give. And if they go to Vishnu, Krishna, then they will get an opportunity, if they were to go through all the trials, to go back to Vaikuntha Lok. So Srila Prabhupada explains Lord Shiva's activities as someone who awards gifts to beggars. Now it may sound harsh, but actually if you see in a very dispassionate way, we are all beggars. Even the richest person in the world is a beggar because he's always asking. And whether we go through under various different big titles also, but finally our activity would be acquiring, asking, wanting something. And if we turn towards him, we will get it. Even if we don't turn, what is in our karma we will get, but we'll be quickly exhausting it, and then we have to face the consequences in the future of what our present activities will show us. So it is really, Prabhupada said that it's like a conditioned soul. He wants to fulfill his desires, and he needs an agent. He needs someone to do it like an agent. And that agent is, we are using Lord Shiva as an agent, if we go to him for asking something. Now, if you ask Lord Shiva for something which is very, for spiritual gains, he will just give everything that he has. As we will see later, we will come to that in a moment. So it's a matter of Lord Shiva will satisfy whatever you want, but it's a question of what we ask from him. If you ask, if you ask material benefits, he will give material benefits, knowing he also knows the consequences that will come. One day on a morning walk, actually, some devotees had asked Srila Prabhupada that Srila Prabhupada, Ravan also was a worshipper of Lord Shiva, and he got so much of power, and then we know the whole Ramayana story, how he went through. And then it was also said that Lord Shiva, some people claim that Lord Ram was in his avatar here. He was also worshipping Lord Shiva for, asking him permission that I have to kill your devotee, Ravan. So that shows that many people feel that shows that Lord Shiva is superior to Lord Ram, because Lord Ram is praying to him. So Srila Prabhupada was very amused by this. And he said, first of all, what kind of person do they think Lord Shiva is? Like, he gives benedictions to Ravan because Ravan asked for it, and then at the same time, then you think that he you have to ask permission. I mean, somebody comes and asks permission that I should kill your devotee, and then he will give that. So he's like a double agent. Do you expect Lord Shiva to be like that? How can you? Then why would anyone want to worship Lord Shiva? So I think this kind of thinking is extremely ignorant and poor, to think that Lord Shiva is someone that Lord Ram had to ask Lord Shiva, can I? That Lord Shiva is not responsible for the actions that you get, the benedictions that you get. If you get the benedictions, we will face the consequences. Then that is our, then it will be our karma. So basically, Lord Shiva's two most prominent qualities, one we said is his compassion, and the second is his friendliness and love towards Lord Vishnu's devotees. Because we say that he is the number one Vaishnava and the highest Vaishnava that in the entire universe that ever has been. And we will see that in many examples. So first, if we take his compassion, we saw how, like in Ravan's case, he gave what Ravan asked for. Similarly, there's a story of Rikasur, who was also a demon. Rikasur had gone to Narad Muni and he's saying, whom should I go to, Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva? So Narad Muni very clearly, he understands everything. So he said, no, you go to Shiva. He's very easily pleased. So he goes to him and then he starts praying and then he makes all kinds of fire sacrifices. And then he was also finally, since Lord Shiva was not appearing, then he started cutting his own flesh and putting in the fire. And then eventually then Lord Shiva appears and says, what do you want? So then Vrikasur said that, I want that power that whoever's hand I put on, whoever's head I put my hand on, then that head completely cracks. So Lord Shiva is bound by his nature so he fulfilled it. He's saying, okay. And then immediately Lord Shiva found that this fellow Vrikasur was trying to use it on Lord Shiva. So he said, how do I know whether it's working or not? So let me try it on you. So he started chasing Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva then suddenly saw that this fellow is a real rascal. And then he went to find all over the place. So Lord Vishnu then comes as a brahmachari and he tries to save him. What he does is that he comes and meets, in a disguise of brahmachari, comes and meets Vrikasur and he says, my dear sir, why are you running around? Whom are you chasing? He says, no, he tells the story, saying, I'm just going because I've been given this power and I'm going after Lord Shiva. So brahmachari says that, Vishnu says that, Lord Shiva, I mean, you think I'm surprised that you just believe everything, because, I have known him and, many of his benedictions don't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So you are being too trusting on him. So why should you not just check it out? So he mesmerizes him. He talks in such a way that Vrikasur is confused. And he says, I suggest one thing, that you can go after him, but first just make a trial and make sure that it works. If it works, then you just go after him. So why don't you put a hand on your head? So he got so confused that he did, and then his head cracked and it worked. So Lord Shiva's benedictions always work. So he found out, well, he didn't live to find out. But so then Lord Shiva Lord Vishnu tells him that, so you have to, sometimes, many of these people are taking full advantage of you. So similarly, in the very beautiful story of the churning of the ocean, when both the demigods and the demons are wanting the Amrit, there had been a war, there had been a fight between the two. Several times they keep fighting. Many times the demigods are victorious, but sometimes the demons also are victorious. And in this case, the demons had defeated the demigods. And then they had thrown out the demigods from all the various positions and they had taken charge. So in that situation, then they turn to Vishnu. So they think that Vishnu will do, of course, Lord Vishnu is in control and he always will ultimately do it, but he'll do it in his own way. He also has to show the demigods that who's in charge. Okay, it doesn't happen the way you expect it, in a way. So when he comes and he says, look, this is not the right time, you are losing and you have to make truce. So he forces them to make truce, that means you make peace with the demons. And then he offers that, he says, both of you can actually start churning the ocean and then you will get the nectar. So the demigods were in charge of the process, and the demigods were thinking that yes, we'll cooperate, and then we will, when the nectar comes, we'll take it and run. And the demons also agreed, because when they saw that this nectar is going to make them invincible if they drink it, and therefore we are in the best position because we are stronger than the demigods, so we will win. So let them take the charge of the process, but when it comes out, we'll take it and go. So just like in today's political world all over, there is a coalition. So the coalition when the partners don't believe in each other. Each one has their own set of thinking, but nevertheless they cooperated but each had his own agenda. So they got together and then they said, okay, now there were many questions. Who will do the churning? Where will the churning happen? So then they selected the Mandar Parbat as the churning rod, and Vasuki, the king of snakes, they asked him, they persuaded him that he agreed to be the churning rope. And then they started, both of them. But somehow when they were doing it, then the Mandar Parbat slipped and went right to the bottom of the ocean, and they were left holding only the rope. You can imagine all of them, and then the middle, it has gone down. So this story is very amazing because there are a lot of avatars that come together. So first is when the churning is happening, Vishnu has come and already told them how to make peace and go ahead. And then when the churning rod goes to the Mandar Parvat, falls right into the ocean, then Kurma avatar, that is Lord Vishnu, comes as Kurma and takes as a tortoise, takes the whole rod on his back. And but still it is unstable. So then another avatar of Vishnu, that is Ajita, he actually sits on top of the mountain, and he's with his thousands of arms, and he stabilizes and steadies the rope, and then the rod, and then the churning starts. Now, when the churning is happening, they are all looking for the nectar to come out. But what happens is that as the churning happens, then Vasuki, is feeling very suffocated, and then he starts all the fumes and smoke and toxic and all start coming out. So initially they saw that they were all waiting the nectar will come out immediately. But actually, when they saw all this black smoke and fumes and all coming, they were stuck in the process. They couldn't do anything, both the demigods and the demons. And then they did have some glimpses that certain things are happening, means they're coming to the fore. Airavat, for instance, came. So they were seeing that, okay, they got some hint and they got some encouragement that it will happen soon. But suddenly then, next what they saw was that the huge amount of black poison was coming out to the fore, to the surface. Kalakut. And that was a shock to them because they were not expecting that. And this was so powerful. So again, they turned to Lord Vishnu. So then Lord Vishnu says, you go to Lord Shiva. He is most compassionate, he will help. So all of them go to him. And that's when he actually took the entire poison. Now that poison, the whole ocean, he compressed. The whole ocean was filled with the poison. He compressed it into a small amount, and then he swallowed it and kept it in his throat. And as we know, it became black and blue. So that's why he's called Nilkant, because of his sheer compassion. Some drops of the poison fell onto the ground when he accomplished that. And then those who, there were scorpions and snakes and others who took the poison. And as we see, just to show how powerful that poison was, that even human beings and cattle, when they get bitten by that poison, they immediately die. So what to speak of the kind of ocean that he took of all that poison and he kept it to himself. So this shows how powerful he is. that is Nilkant. Also, the story of Banasur. Banasur was actually the son of Bali Maharaj, very, very powerful. And he became a special bhakt of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, but then what happened is that Banasur's daughter, Usha, then somehow she and Anirudh was son of Pradyumna. They fell in love and then they were going to get married. And then this became a war between the Yadavs and the whole demon army of Banasur and his lot, and they were very powerful. So, coming to the conclusion only that basically the war happened, and then here Balram, Krishna, all of them came to fight. Satyaki and all the Yadavs came, and here Banasur. So it was like so Lord Shiva actually came to fight on behalf of Banasur because he was so close to him, and he felt. And Banasur also had his attributes, when here, and he in a sense, he was like the father who felt offended. My daughter is getting married without what has happened. Somebody's just taken her away like this. So he opposed it, and then they had a big fight. So you can imagine the whole universe, everybody, like this is like a world war. Everyone's divided into two camps. And then the sum and substance was that at the end of the day, Lord Krishna, Lord Shiva demonstrates so many of his Shaktis and his weapons. And Lord Vishnu himself comes and then he nullifies all that. And finally, Lord Shiva takes out the Shiva Jwara, which is the very powerful, I think it brings a lot of heat. But then Lord Krishna comes and nullifies that. And then Lord Shiva completely, ultimately his love for Krishna is so strong. So I mean, that is his basic being. He meditates on him. So he comes and tells him that, of course, by that time Banasur's 1,000 arms were there. All of them were cut, and he'd only had 4 arms left. Lord Vishnu was about to destroy him, but then Lord Shiva speaks very heartfully, very nicely, very beautifully. And when he does that, at that time he also, he says that, please forgive Banasur also, and immediately Vishnu says that Banasur is your devotee, and clearly, I mean, and also he was anyway going to be his Vevai in a sense, they were all going to be related because Banasur's daughter was coming into Krishna's family. So he completely forgave him. So basically, we see that Lord Shiva has a very special relationship. But sometimes when we are looking at his compassion, as we saw, these examples might give us an impression that, well, has he made mistakes? Has he got any faults? It is not at all like that, because we cannot understand how, because he is a Shiva Tattva, he is not a Jiva Tattva. So he is everything he does is really to enhance his love and dependence and the close commitment, connection that they have with Lord Vishnu, which we cannot even understand. But his second quality, where he is very, very, very friendly, that really, which is his deep, you can say it is in his DNA, his deep love for the devotees of Lord Vishnu, where he, there are many examples, like in the Prachetas, when they are about to become the princes, they are about to take on the responsibility. So it was him, Lord Shiva, who comes and instructs them and gives them guidance. He gives them a special mantra, which this unique prayer actually on his own, which actually was a prayer to Lord Vishnu. So similarly, we see that in the Bhagavatam, we also understand that Lord Vishnu, in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, both Brahma and Shiva appear there because they want to worship the Lord Vishnu. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, Krishna comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Brahma comes as Haridas Thakur, and Lord Shiva comes as Advaita Acharya. So they are his closest kind of connection with him. And it was Advaita Acharya's prayers as Sadashiv that actually brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he saw the degradation and they saw how even the so-called Brahmins and all were actually going to deviation. And in fact, taking that means they're completely deviating from the basic understanding of religion. And then his fervent prayers actually brought Lord Chaitanya into the world 550 years ago. In the Jagannath temple also, in the doorway of the main entrance, both Brahma and Shiva are attending as doorkeepers of Lord Jagannath. So there's no doubt that Lord Shiva loves the devotees of Lord Vishnu. And Prabhupada said that anyone who criticizes Lord Shiva is completely shameless and ignorant. Of course, we don't need to offer Lord Shiva what many of his followers may do it. Like I heard one of the devotees in the class mention that there's a temple in Madhya Pradesh where they offer liquor also to Lord Shiva. So we don't need to do that. Sometimes they offer crematorium ashes. So that may be out of the ignorance, but we are concerned with, means Lord Shiva is worshipable because he is, if you were to look at what a Vaishnava is, it is Lord Shiva. There's also a very funny anecdote about how compassionate he is, like how kind he is, that there is a story that when he actually got married, I mean, when he and Mother Parvati on the wedding day, so they were giving away various things. As it is, his nature is very compassionate. So they had given everything, whatever they could, and then finally when Brahmin comes later, and then there's nothing more to give. So he gives away his own house. So actually, who will give on his own wedding day that the couple goes and stays outside their house? They don't even have a house. So that is his kind of nature, spontaneous and very, very, very kind. In fact, it is mentioned in Brihad Bhagavatam that Lord Shiva himself says that I don't know why I'm so compassionate. I don't know why I just spontaneously. I mean, I cannot understand why why I do some things. But one thing I know, that Lord Vishnu knows my heart. He knows my heart. He knows that whatever I do is, it is. So I'm not worried about what other people may understand or misunderstand. So like that, there are many other stories about Lord Shiva that we now take it that Lord Shiva also, out of his love for Vishnu, has his presence in Vrindavan. He was very keen, and as we know that he was very keen to enter the Ras Leela, because that was his that was the most intimate connection with Krishna. So, but he was told that sorry, you are a male, so you can't go, you can't enter. So, very humbly he accepted it, and then he transforms himself into a gopi, and then he was allowed in. Of course, all the other gopis, I think, were quite terrified because they didn't see a gopi with snakes on the head, because the snakes still remained. But that is his humility, that is his love, his eagerness to be with Lord Krishna. And there are many pastimes in Vrindavan connected to Lord Shiva. And then it seems that there are 4 specific Shivas who are guarding the 4 directions of Vrindavan. Bhuteshwar Mahadev, Gopeshwar Mahadev, Kameshwar Mahadev and Chakleshwar Mahadev. Within Vrindavan, his dealings with Sanatan Goswami are very special. Somehow he had a very close connection or deep love for Sanatan Goswami, of all the special compared to all the others with whom he had whom he really felt close to. So he somehow felt, he was always moving around him, and then Sanatan Goswami was in his bhajan when he was doing his writings. So the story goes that at one time he was being bothered by many mosquitoes, and he wanted to move to another place because it was getting too difficult to do his service. He was also advancing in age. So it was Lord Shiva who immediately just talked to the demigod of mosquitoes and said, just move out. This is not your domain. So immediately that was complied with. Also, we know the story where this poor Brahmin who he went to Sanatan Goswami because he had heard that this gem there's the gem which will give him unlimited and continuous riches forever. So we don't know that actually it was Lord Shiva who, when this poor Brahmin had gone to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva was the one who actually told him, but he felt that if I were to tell him, maybe he may not listen or may not understand, may not agree. So he said, you go to Sanatana Goswami. So he goes to Sanatana Goswami on the instructions of Lord Shiva, this poor Brahmin. When he goes there, so Sanatana Goswami said, yes, there is, then, you just outside the house, on the right side, you'll see a garbage dump. So in that garbage dump, you'll find the gem there. So this Brahmin goes there and he finds it. And then he has already made a big wish list in his mind, what he wants out of that. Okay, I will this. But then just a thought struck him that if it's so valuable, why is it in the dump? Why anyone put in the garbage dump? So he goes back to Sanatana Goswami, and so Sanatana Goswami says that actually this is not going to make you happy. So now the Brahmin was really surprised. I mean, I didn't know. So he said, how is it possible? Because gold is the most valuable, and this is real solid gold gem. So he said, well, if you want to know, then you have to first throw this gem away, throw it away and then come to me. Throw it in the river. So the Brahmin had, of course, he was keen for the gold, for that gold, but at the same time he had by now had a lot of trust in Sanatana Goswami. So he agrees, and then he throws it and comes to him. And then Sanatana Goswami gives him the Mahamantra, which is, he said, this is the most special and the highest gem which will give you eternal, everlasting happiness. If you were going after the gold and the gem which was going to give you happiness, I'm giving you something which is far, far higher. You are looking for something, then so that is the kind of trust he had. And then he gave him the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There is also another aspect of Lord Shiva which is misunderstood by many, that because Adi Shankaracharya, as we know, he came maybe about 1300 years ago or so, and he is the incarnation of Lord Shiva. And as we understand that Adi Shankaracharya came for a specific purpose, and he came, he actually transformed the people, moving people away from the direct method of Vedic knowledge to an indirect way, to go into a formless form of worship. So therefore there's a confusion that how can Lord Shiva do this? If we say that this is contradictory, he has so much of love, and he also is very kind, and this connection is so close. But many people may not be aware of that, but the Shastras very clearly say that actually Adi Shankaracharya came here and he did this on the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, on the order of Lord Vishnu. And this is confirmed in the Padma Puran, in the words of Lord Shiva himself. Lord Shiva, now hear this, Lord Shiva says to Parvati, the Mayavad philosophy is impious, it is asachatra. My dear Parvati, in the form of a Brahmin in Kali Yuga, that is as Adi Shankaracharya, I teach this imagined Mayavad philosophy in order to cheat the atheists. So there was a purpose that before them there were complete godlessness. So from there to bring them and wean them away and into at least in the form of God, though it was a twist of the philosophy, but at least bringing God somewhere in the discussion. He took the form of Adi Shankaracharya, and so he says, I describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be without form and without qualities. So this is Lord Shiva speaking to Parvati. Also in the Shiva Puran, the Supreme Personality of Godhead told Lord Shiva that in Kali Yuga, mislead the people in general by propounding imaginary meanings for the Vedas to bewilder them. I repeat, in the Shiva Puran, Lord Krishna himself tells Lord Shiva that in Kali Yuga, please go and mislead the people in general by propounding imaginary meanings of the Vedas for the Vedas to bewilder them. So basically, this is the so on the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and for fulfilling a certain purpose, Lord Shiva came as Adi Shankaracharya. But ultimately, as we see that, as he even tells Parvati in the Padma Puran, we see this, that in addition, he says that, he so proudly says, just see the devotees of Lord Vishnu. No? They are the most exemplary, they are the most beloved of me. And, for me, that is the highest, my most deepest satisfaction is to see the devotees of Lord Vishnu. So, basically, Lord Shiva is someone who is a worshipable object for us. Though he is not Lord Krishna, he is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is also having the Shiva Tattva. He is having the potencies of, he's not like any of the demigods. Though he is technically a demigod, but he is he's in a very special zone, a special category. He comes for a special purpose, has a deep connection and deep love with Lord Vishnu. That is his closest bond that they have. And then he has many leelas which we may have, which we would not understand on our own, but we would need the help of people to, more understanding people to be able to help us. So we may have time for a few questions if I'll end here and see if anybody has any general questions. On the verse or in Lord Shiva? Yes.
I have been practicing Krishna consciousness for the last 25 years, and my question is regarding chanting. Krishna says that we have imperfect senses like ears, the tongue, the mind. These are the 6 imperfect senses. Means we are born with imperfect senses. But the chanting, they say the 10 namaparad is, they say we should attend to chanting. So our imperfect senses, how can they do attend to chanting, perfect chanting? Means Shuddha Nam, that is the 3rd stage. Means now we are doing somewhere Namabhas or this stage, like we can say Namabhas, Namabhas stage. So how can we go to that stage, and what are the symptoms of Shuddha Nam, like with our imperfect senses?
See, Krishna is not different from his name. So Krishna is actually present in his name. So he has all the power. So when we chant Krishna's name, actually is dancing on our tongue. The difference is that only when we talk of sincerely chanting, the 10 offenses, it is a challenge, it is not easy. So we only concentrate on the process. So we just concentrate on trying to see how sincerely we can. For instance, we have been repeatedly told that we need to hear the words clearly. We need to chant in the best frame of mind. That means when we are freshest in the morning. So we in seclusion, when we're not disturbed. So we make an effort into our busy day. So basically, we just, from our point of view, we don't need to do anything else other than we have faith that Krishna is present in his name. He is non-different. It's not that the name of Krishna is different. Like the example is given that if we keep saying water, 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 then our thirst doesn't get fulfilled. The water is different and the word speaking is different. Well, here Krishna is actually present. So when we are directly chanting, then he is reciprocating with us. So he will, to the extent that we are sincerely following, he will start cleaning the anarthas within us. Now, whether they take this lifetime or whether they take less time or more time depends on us. But clearly, a symptom of wanting to very constantly evaluating ourselves, whether I'm doing, that is not a very encouraging sign. So because we can't be the judge and the jury and ourselves. So we leave that to Krishna. We just do our best, have faith, but concentrate whether can we improve our chanting and and then automatically as the anathas start reducing, we will actually, the clearance process, the purification process happens, and the clarity will come. Yes, bro. Mike.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for wonderful class. My question is, you just narrated that Lord Krishna, it is mentioned in the Shiva Puran that Lord Krishna has directed the Lord Shiva that to
And
Shankara.
Padma Puran also.
That you mislead that atheistic people and mislead them. What is the reason behind that? Why he said
Because
like this?
before Adi Shankaracharya came, then there was total atheism. That when you see the followers of Lord Buddha, and then they had actually gone on the path where they completely, where there was absolutely total lack of God consciousness. So to bring that, then Adi Shankaracharya comes and he establishes the Advaita philosophy, which is which eventually, of course, we have the Dvaita Vishishta, and we have Madhvacharya and then Ramanujacharya. They also came and challenged it, but there was a purpose. So that is Krishna's own way of that. He brought it to first at least bring God in the picture. So to directly duel with the situation, that means to directly confront the situation of complete atheism, he came with a specific purpose. And eventually then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he reconciled all the Dvaita and Advaita, and then he gave us the perfect philosophy. Yes.
Krishna Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, there are two statements and I would like your help to connect these things. In one place we say that Lord Supreme Lord Krishna is the controller. And in one place is what I understand is that we are responsible for our own actions and reactions. So in what aspects of our life is Krishna controlling us, basically, if we are responsible for our own actions and reactions?
So, see, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead, but so he controls the universe, he controls every aspect, but at the same time, the living entity has an individual choice. Because that choice is given only then you can demonstrate your love. Ultimately, what Krishna wants is, we were actually part of Krishna. We have chosen to be separate, and that's why we have been given this material world to come to. So it's now our purpose is to go back to him. So while he controls everything, we see the planets are working in perfect conjunction. We don't see them having clashes, how the body is growing. There's so many instances how the flowers grow, the trees grow. I mean, there are miracles that are happening in front of us. The structure of... that's one thing. But on the other hand, our own consciousness to bring like say on a Sunday morning, you have chosen to come here. There are so many things. You could be sleeping till 12 or you could be going somewhere else. So many things you can do. So that is the matter of a human being who can exercise that choice and demonstrate our love. Just like just because you're born in a family doesn't mean you love the family there are many ways you demonstrate it, no? Whether it's your parents or your children or your family, whoever, by actions. So what is the action that a human being can do? So that is where Krishna wants to see that we have to actually reciprocate. He's always there. That means Krishna is available for us, but then he also gives us, he's given us the knowledge also, and he tells us that there is, you are given a situation where you can come back to me, but then if you choose not to, that's up to you. So out of his love, he gives us a complete freedom, that minute freedom. But in that freedom, how we exercise it depends on us. So there is both. So there is ultimately, like for instance, we say that I can't be eternal. I can't, the soul is eternal, but I can't, if I just want to, if I have a very nice house, nice situation, I say, I don't want to change. I don't want to grow old. That is not going to be, once we are born, we are going to grow old and we will be dying. That's in this body, for sure. But how we choose to do it and how we choose to, as we see everywhere around us, there's vast choices. You may choose to kill someone on one extreme. You can choose that kind of life and you may want to. Or the other hand is that you actually understand where I've come from and where I can have an eternal life, and that is where Krishna is. So Krishna is calling us to the Krishna Lok, Vaikuntha. So therefore so that's the way we can reconcile it, that while he controls the he's the only Purush. We are all, in that sense, we are all female. We are Prakriti, we are nature. But it's not that we are like just inert. We have consciousness, and we exercise that consciousness to go to him. That little consciousness is needed. Like a child is studying, in the board exams, for instance. You may see someone successful, someone does very well, and someone doesn't do because the person studies. Similarly, here, if you want to go to Krishna, we can't just wish and say, he's in control. If he wants, I'll come. If he doesn't want, it won't come. That can't. We have to demonstrate. We have to make sacrifices. It is not actually a sacrifice, but for us it becomes because we are attached to so many things. We grow attached to many things, and then that act of getting detached or the act of choosing that out of knowledge, that is where the Shastras come in. That is where the association and examples of others come in, and we see that doing that makes us even happier, contented. That so understanding the philosophy and living it will be giving us the impetus, and choosing that is something what Krishna wants, and then we can go back to him. So, Hare Krishna.
Going through the pleasure of hearing about the Krishna and Shiva's relation and connection during Shiva Tattva, when I heard about a story when Krishna was born, all the demigods came with happiness to have the darshan of Lord Krishna. But when Shiva came with happiness, Yashoda made him stand outside only. She would not allow him to have the darshan of Krishna. Please let me know the reason and what is the complete story.
I have not heard of that. Have you heard it?
Yashoda gets frightened, no?
Yeah.
She gets frightened of...
Shivram Prabhu? I'll give the mic. I'll just go to Shivram Prabhu, who will be able to answer. So we stuck here. Cordless mic is coming.
Mataji's question is that why Shiva was not allowed to give darshan of Krishna. Actually, it is Krishna and Shiva's competition, how to serve each other. So, many times demigods also, when Krishna appears in this world, sometimes Krishna shows his supremacy, that not anyone and everyone can have Krishna's darshan or so Krishna plays many pastimes. So here also, this is between Krishna and Shiva, their pastimes Leela. So then when Shiva appeared, so he came in a different form, like some sadhu, but a Aghori sadhu like that, with snakes and everything. So then Yashoda Mai said that previously there were many demons, they came in the form of different forms, disguised. So here Yashoda Mai also thought that this person is also not a sadhu, he is also a demon in disguise. So she said, no. Then she said that my Krishna, my Kana is just 3 months old, 2-3 months old. What did he do wrong to all of you? Why are you coming in different disguises? So I won't give darshan to you. So then Lord Shiva started smiling. He said that, Krishna, what is your lila? I came from Kailash to take your darshan and you are not giving your darshan to me. So then when Yashoda Mai said no, then Krishna became so pleased with Lord Shiva's efforts. Then Krishna started crying. He said, okay, I want. Then Yogamaya came and he said, no, because you have displeased that sadhu, so now you please again invite him, and then Krishna can be satisfied. He will stop crying. So then Yashodamaya again invited again Shiva, and then Krishna gave darshan to him. That's a sweet pastime relationship between Shiva and Krishna.
So you got a special invitation. Very nice. Okay. We'll stop here because I think we'll start the Kirtan. Who will be leading the Kirtan? Hare Krishna.